Well, howdy there, Internet students. Mr. Hermanson here again. Today we're going to talk about compound inequalities. And compound inequalities are inequalities that require two parts to represent the whole set of numbers that are solutions. So go ahead and read this definition about compound inequalities. Don't ever be afraid to hit pause. You don't have to keep up with me. So in problem one, it says writing the compound inequality. So the given phrase here is all real numbers that are greater than 1, so that would just be x is greater than 1, and less than 5. We can put the word and in there. Now, notice that like on a number line, if we say greater than 1, we're out here at number 1. And so we're going this way. And then if we say and less than 5, so somewhere out here is 5, and now we're going this way. So the numbers that work for both of those are actually the numbers between 1 and 5. And so we can write this one another way. When you get a situation like this, it's called the intersection of the two. And we could also write it like this. 1 is less than x is less than 5, which is saying that we want all the numbers that are between 1 and 5, but not including 1 and 5. All right, part B says all real numbers that are less than 10. So let's write that right away. X is less than 10 or greater than 15. Now in this situation, we have less than 10. So on a number line, we're going to be somewhere out here at 10, and we're going to be going this way. And then we have greater than 15, so we're going to be like this. So we actually have two parts of the inequality here. When you get a situation like this, it's called a union of the two. And there's no way to write that any simpler. You have to use the two different inequalities to represent that. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and try this one. It would be a good time to pause, and then you can check back and see if you got the solution correct. So how'd you do? Notice that a solution involving the word and is any number that makes both inequalities true. And that'll be a situation like this on a number line where there's just one area that makes it true. And when you say or, that's any number that makes either inequality true. So it could be either one or the other. All right. So we're going to solve this one here. It says, what are the solutions to -2 is less than x plus 2 is less than or equal to 5? Now, we could split that into the two inequalities. We could say -2 x plus 2 is greater than -2 and x plus 2 is less than or equal to 5. But I think it'd be easier if we just want to know what x could be. So to figure out what x needs to be, I'm just going to subtract 2 there. And just like an equation, whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. And there's actually 3 parts here, so you have to subtract 2 from each of the parts. So -2 minus 2 is -4. X plus 2 minus 2 is just x. And 5 minus 2 is 3. And so we get that for the solution. And so somewhere out here, I'm going to have a -4. And I'm going to put an open circle there. And this would be 0. This would be 4. And so 3 would be right there and would be a closed circle. And then it's everything in between. All right. Why don't you go ahead and try the next one? It'd be a good time to pause here, see if you can do it. So here's what your solution should look like. And notice that I use a scale of 1/3 on my graph to make it easier to graph that. So each little mark is 1/3 there. All right, problem number 3 here. We're going to write and then solve the compound inequality here. It says to earn a B in your algebra class, you must achieve an unrounded test average between 84 and 86 inclusive. That means 84 and 86 are included, which means you have to use a equal sign with your inequality. So you scored a 78, a 78, a 79 on the first 3 out of 4. Is it possible for you to earn a B in the course? So now here's just to remind you how to get your average. You would add up all of them. You would add your 78, your 78, your 79, and then one more test, which we don't know what the total of that is yet. And that has to be greater than or equal to 84, less than or equal to 86. Oh, I forgot to do this. Remember, on an average, you have to divide it by how many your tests you took, so that would be 4. Now, I'm going to do some math here. I'm going to get rid of the divide by 4, I'm going to multiply everything by 4. Notice I also combined the 78, 78, and 79 and made that 235. Now I just need to subtract 235 from all parts. And so we get x has to be between 101 and 110. Now, assuming that 100 is the maximum grade, it looks like you're out of luck. You're not going to get this grade if that was your hopes. All right. So why don't you go ahead and try one of those? It's pretty much the same. See if you can set it up, and you can check back and look at my work and see if you did it right. So it looks like you have to collect at least 80, well, somewhere between 80 and 96 pop tabs to meet your goal. All right, now if you have an OR situation, you're just going to have to solve each of those inequalities separately. So basically I need to solve this side, and then I need to solve this side, and put them together into the union of the two inequalities. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to add 1 both sides here. That does not change the inequality direction. Dividing by 2 keeps it the same also. So we have any number less than -1. And then for the second part, we're going to subtract 2. And that gives us -3n less than -6. Dividing by -3 gives us n, switch the sign, greater than 2. This is an OR situation. So now if I graph it, I think I'm going to use a scale of 2. Spread it out a little bit here. And then we have x is less than -1, which would be this stuff over here. And then we have x is greater than 2, which is this stuff over here. Okay? All right, why don't you go ahead and try one of those, and then you can check back and see if your solution is correct. That's what your solution should look like. I hope you remembered to switch the sign right here on this one. All right. Looks like you're ready to try some practice on your own. Good luck with that. Talk to you soon.